Hello and welcome to the Knock On Scoreline.ie's rugby podcast. We're joined by former Leinster captain Chris Pimm. Chris, how are you?
Good, couldn't be better, Stephen. Thank you very much. Yeah, good result there last weekend. So yeah, in good form. Looking forward to tomorrow.
Absolutely. Chris, we got it wrong about England, Ireland, and we sort of gave Munster a bit too much credit coming into that match. Not being disrespectful, but we were all surprised with the result, and I suppose the strength of the result and the gulf between the two teams when it finished up.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, it could have been 20, 25 point differential if Leinster had taken the chances. I mean, God, Munster were beaten out the gate. They were literally never in it. I know they pulled it back to 6-all there at half time, and you thought, well, maybe they weathered the storm. They're going to show something in the second half, but really, they never really looked like competing in the game. And I think from start to finish, Leinster were always in control. And they would have liked a few more points on the board, but yeah, look, I think the result was. Well, first few minutes was probably. I mean, I don't think he held the ball for. I mean, I don't think Joey touched the ball for about 20 minutes. So it was. I think it was a lesson in how to strangle out a team who are coming out to try and do a job on you. They had no answer, and Leinster were good, to be fair.
Yeah, but the game was won up front, so we knew that was going to be one of the areas where both teams were going to be strong, and we figured Munster would be quite strong in that area as well. But Leinster, I just never really gave them a chance, like you said. I put a lot of pressure on them, and then when you have a bench like Leinster had coming on as well, it's not good for the confidence.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was pretty impressive, to be fair, and they never really looked like struggling. And yeah, as you say, once you have a bench like that coming on, there was only going to be one result, even though Johnny didn't last too long. Got a bit of a bang there, but I think once they kind of knew they had the game won, that he looks like he's all right for tomorrow. So that's the main thing. So yeah, look, it wasn't too serious. So I think they just left things as they were. And Ross Byrne looked like he picked up a knock, but he's on the bench. So he made the bench for tomorrow, so he can't be too bad.
Yeah, absolutely. We talked last week, Chris, about putting a lot of pressure on Joey Carberry. He's only back a few games. He's only started a few games, and that sort of told in that game, didn't it? He didn't have a great game, being honest about it.
Didn't have a great game, but then how much ball did he get in front foot to try and do anything with? Everything he was doing was kind of rear guard action stuff. Um, yeah, maybe could have been guilty of shoveling on ball a little bit when he did get it, but it was a massive ask to expect him to be a game breaker given how little rugby he's played in the last year. But it'll be interesting to see what they do tomorrow for Saturday's game, whether they persist with him or bring in JJ. I don't know what the chat is, but it's looking like they'll probably stick with Joey. And obviously, I think that's the right thing to do at this stage. He needs games in time. But yeah, it's a fairly daunting task when you look through the task that they have this weekend against the Toulouse side. That is literally almost back to the olden days of Toulouse side in the early 2000s. So yeah, look, daunting task for Munster, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Leinster felt the brunt of that a year or two ago when they went over to Toulouse as well. That old Toulouse spirit and that team was back there. A lot of talk, Chris, about Munster and criticism last week that the coaching ticket maybe needs a refresh. What's their game plan? Who are they bringing through players wise? Is this the Gulf? Is this the true Munster? Are they ever going to win a trophy again? Where do you see it, and what's your own thoughts on them at the moment?
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure, but I mean, when you look like they brought in Rantry, they brought in Larkham, you would have said they were two excellent additions. Um, so I don't know enough about Van Grant to say whether he's the right man or the wrong man, but given I would have said he'd brought them forward certainly up until last week, I would have said he brought them on a bit, but they certainly got massively exposed last week against what is obviously a good Leinster team, but a Leinster team that were still missing three or four that would have added even more power to the engine. So I don't really know is the short answer, but I'm not altogether sure flipping your coaching ticket every 5 minutes is going to fix anything either. But I did see some stats that their win ratio has improved every year since he's been there, and I suppose they just have to keep plugging away. I do see they've signed another South African second row, which a couple of ex-Munster heads were a little bit disappointed with. But as opposed to bringing through the Thomas Ahern's and this sort of stuff, but I guess they're looking to fill Billy Holland's shoes, who's very much a journeyman. They hopefully will have your man Simmons back next year, so as well from his knee injury. So you'll have two big South African second rows, but I'm not sure that's where the issues are, to be honest. I mean, they looked very light behind the scrum. I don't think Farrell and Delande were never in the game, never really looked like making an impression, and I fully accept they were playing against Henshaw, who's probably the form centre in World Rugby at the moment, but still they were very disappointing, and I never fired a shot, to be honest.
Yeah,
So I
that's
mean,
it.
long term, is it changing ticket? I don't know. I don't think changing the coaches tomorrow is going to make a massive difference.
I suppose the way the announcement of the South African coming in was handled could have been done better, because Darren Sweetnam and JJ Hanrahan's deals were announced. Darren is off to Rogers Club in France, La Rochelle, and then they said that they don't really have money to keep them on, and then they announced the South African second row, and you're like going,
Yeah,
oh, lads.
yeah, yeah. Maybe he's coming on a free, but I doubt it very much. Yeah. So, look, yeah, it's not. Yeah, it hasn't been a good week, to be fair, and yeah, look, it is what it is. I'm not quite sure where they go from here, but yeah, it certainly the optics weren't great when you look at it that way, and there's definitely going to be a big hole filled there when you take somebody like Billy Holland out of the loop, who is your old-fashioned true Munster second row. You're definitely losing a bit, and I suppose the other side of the conversation is that back in the day, Munster won so many games with just raw passion and desire, and the rugby was limited, to be fair, but it was incredibly successful, and they deserve every success they got. But I suppose the game has moved on a little bit, but Munster are probably stuck a little bit as to where they were, and I think that was the thinking with Van Graham, that and bringing in Larkham, that they would develop more of a 15 man game. I know when they'd Rob Penny there, they were playing this side to side, wide stuff, but it probably was too early in their evolution, having literally come from not 10-man rugby, but a version of it, to this wide side stuff that Penny was playing, and that didn't suit them either. So I guess Van Graham was looking for something somewhere in the middle, and he's probably just struggling to find it at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Champions Cup this weekend. Leinster are in action
Yep.
against Toulon on Friday night. Can't wait myself. Great to have European rugby back. Buoyed, of course, by that Pro 14 win last week. Decent team named as well. Chris, I'll just take the listeners through it if they haven't got it. Keane Healy, Ronan Kelleher, Tyke Furlong up front. Devin Toner and Ryan Baird in the second row. So Ryan Baird comes in and starts this game. Rhys Ruddock, Josh van der Fleer and Jack Conan in the back row. You've got Luke McGrath Johnny Sexton, the half-backs. James Lowe is back on a starting side. He's on the left wing. Robbie Henshaw and Rory O'Loughlin are back in the centre again, the same as last week. Jordan Larmer's on the right wing and Hugo Keenan. And on the bench then you've James Tracy, Carl O'Mann, Ed Byrne, Andrew Porter, Ross Maloney, Scott Fardy, Hugh O'Sullivan, which means Jamieson Gibson Park doesn't make the bench there as scrum half, Ross Byrne and Dave Carney. That's a pretty decent side.
Pretty decent side, yeah. Obviously, Gibson Park, I think he picked up a bang there in training yesterday, so I think that's why he's not in the loop. But and Rowan Osborne is actually still injured, so he would have been out of the loop. So, but yeah, look, I wouldn't, no disrespect to Hugh, I wouldn't want to be relying on him in a massive European game. So I expect, bar we get out in front by a good few points, that they stick with Luke for the most of the game. But yeah, decent sort of sides. Good to see James Lowe back in there, give him a chance to for a bit of redemption, and he'll certainly be keen to get back on the horse, given what was a difficult Six Nations for him. So I think he'd be delighted to get back in there. Possibly O'Loughlin is lucky to hang in there, through a couple of bad passes, both of which were probably try-scoring passes last weekend, which he fluffed up. So he's probably lucky to get another gallop. And would have nice to been seen to see Frawley or somebody in there. I'm not sure whether he has a bang or not. But yeah, look, great to see Ryan Baird getting a start. He'll obviously be champing at the bit as well to try and make an impression. He's had a lot of appearances off the bench and stuff lately, but he'll be looking to put in a big 80, and it'll be interesting to see how he goes over 80. And I would think it's possibly a Lions trial for him as well. I'd say he's just the sort of player that Gatland would look at for the Lions, as in somebody who can come off the bench and make an impact. And I think he definitely fills that role, but he'll be looking to prove that he can do the 80-minute thing as well. So a great opportunity for him. And I suppose I'm a little disappointed not to see Dan Sheehan on the bench, but James Tracy's the backup hooker there as well. But yeah, all in all, decent looking side. And we'll see what Toulon travel like. I see, from what I can work out, most of their side seems to be South African as opposed to French, but so they obviously still have a few boys left over from the legacy of the money boys back in the exactly, yeah. So there were a couple of lads left over, but yeah, look, they'll be a big imposing pack. But I guess Leinster, very similar to last weekend, they look to keep the ball and run the big Frenchman ragged for the first 20-30 minutes, and then see what they've got in the last 20. So yeah, I would expect very much more of the same. Keep the ball out of their hands and dominate possession and territory, and take it from there and look for a bit of French discipline. And yeah, I'd be confident enough we should do a job. I saw they got an absolute pasting there last week by Leon. So now I don't know what sort of side they had out, so it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, look, they're not going well in the league, which in many ways is probably a bad thing for us, because they're not really in relegation trouble and they're not in championship trouble, so they may well focus at this as being their only chance of any silverware. So I would imagine they'll be all guns blazing in the first 20 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. Leinster probably just need to work on a bit of handling stuff, like you were saying, the Rory O'Loughlin wild passes last week out into the sideline. Just small little things like that, just to clean up those bits and pieces.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That'd be good to see that. And, O'Loughlin will be disappointed himself, so he'll be looking to make up for that, because otherwise he was good, to be fair. But just they were kind of two glaring errors, so he'll be keen to fix that for sure.
Yeah, that's it. Great to see Ryan Baird, like you said, back in. A very, very strong back row as well. Rhys Ruddock there as well. Josh had a decent game last week, and Jack Conan was incredible. Man of the match last week. Put in a huge, huge shift in that number 8 jersey.
Yeah, no, he's good. He does bring a little bit extra to the party. I think his ball skills and his general spatial awareness is he's probably a little bit better than Ruddock. Ruddock is more of a battering ram and a workhorse, whereas Conan has that strength and power, but he just also has a little bit of probably a little bit more ball about him in that he's very good hands and very good awareness of where he is on the pitch. So he does definitely add something to the party, that's for sure. And I thought Ruddock was absolutely excellent again last week. I thought it was really, really good. I actually thought I would have given him man of the match, to be honest. But I thought he was really, really good. He's had an absolutely outstanding season for Leinster and probably feels a little disappointed he only had the one gallop for Ireland. So, but yeah, great bit of stuff. And so, yeah, look, the Leinster back row are a force to be reckoned with. Obviously, Scott Penny's out now for a couple of weeks, I think, with a broken hand. So he'll be disappointed with that. But yeah, look, Josh is going well as well. So it'll be, this should be good.
Yeah, Scott's been recognised as well. A couple of little, I think, awards or acknowledgements there during the week. Pro 14 acknowledgements. Yeah. Chris, you've had a label on his head for a long time. Some player, and lots more to see as well. You're the number one fan. Yeah. I have to agree, though. He's a pretty.
There you go.
Pretty cool kid. Yeah, exactly.
He's a good bit of stuff. Yeah, next gen star, I think, is what they called his award that he got yesterday, and he obviously got onto the Pro 14 team in the season. But yeah, he's certainly the next gen star as far as I'm concerned. If he can get enough ball time, so it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, fully deserves it. He's had a great season in the Pro 14.
How do you see Munster going against Toulouse, Chris?
I don't know. If you looked on paper, you'd go, Jesus, based on last week's performance, this could be a 30-40 pointer. But I just have my suspicions that Munster will find something from somewhere and that maybe Toulouse won't hit their straps early on. So I think if Munster can get into the game early, make a good start, which I know would have been their plan last week as well, but that they will have a chance. And if they're in the game with 15-20 minutes to go, you'd absolutely give them a chance. They have a lot of good ballers on the team, so it's not like they haven't all become bad rugby players overnight. I know they got an awful pasting last week, but it'll be a great measure of Van Graham, of the whole coaching ticket, if they can pick them all up and send them out for a big performance on Saturday. So, yeah, I'm actually optimistic. I just have a feeling they'll step up to the plate. So, fingers crossed.
Yeah, absolutely. Good for Irish rugby to see them coming through as well. Another news, Chris, in the world of rugby beyond, I suppose, the weekend. So Heineken Champions Cup.
Was the France Scotland game? Was that last week? That was last week. Was that week or was that 2 weeks ago?
It's hard to know with
I've lost
COVID.
Track of time.
So have I. I can't remember. I think it's 2 weeks ago because I was going to talk about the Rainbow Cup as well, but we already had chatted about that. Yeah. That's just trying to keep track with the whole change of
Scotland game. That was just mad.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. No, incredible stuff. Yeah, I mean, Jesus. A great game of rugby. To be fair, it was one of the best Six Nations there's been in a long time, if you think about it. There were so many close games. All the games pretty much were within one score, bar the Italy games, and of course the English game. So bar the two English games and the Italy games, all the other games were a 5 point or less finish. So I don't know, is that 15 games? But it's more, is it? Yeah, it must be more. But but it was definitely the most exciting Six Nations in a long time. So hopefully that trend continues into the European Cup as well.
Absolutely. Well, fingers crossed for Leinster, of course, at the weekend. Munster, of course, we have to back our Irish brethren and hope that they do well as well. It's good for the whole country as good if they do well as well. And of course, give them a bit of a lift after last week. Leinster have one trophy in the cabinet. Can they get a 5th star this year, Chris? That's the big question.
That's the big question. Yeah, well, tomorrow will tell a tale, but I think it's with extra if they win tomorrow. That sound right? Something like that. So, that'll be a tough ask, but look, no better men in Leo Cullen and Stuart Lancaster to get. I think they got caught cold by Saracens last year, and they're very keen to make sure that doesn't happen again. So, look, I'd fancy them to go all the way. I think they're very focused. They're very good at what they do. They're very clear on how they want to play. So, I'd be hoping for the best, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Chris, been great talking to you, catching up on all things rugby, Leinster and otherwise. We'll catch up with you again on the next Knock on Rugby podcast here on Scoreline. Thanks for talking to us, Chris.
No problem. Cheers. Thanks, Stephen. No problem. Well done.